Hello everyone, welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast, and we are joined by North Sydney Bears women's, honestly, gun, because she scored the most tries in the Harvey Norman Premiership this season for the Bears. Her name is Tyla Gambell. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, CJ.
Right, you are with the Bears currently, but to anyone who may not know, you played touch footy for the Tigers and touch footy in general for quite a while. What was the transition like for you from touch into full contact?
Look, the last 12 months has definitely been a journey. I remember my first training session with the Bears, and yeah, it was an eye opener. Definitely a challenge that I was, hopefully to be up to. The obvious one about from a touch to rugby league is the contact.
For sure.
I was walking around the streets for weeks after with bruises all over me, and I actually had people come up to me and go, "Are you all right?" Like,
oh wow, were they like that big and that? Wow.
Yeah, all over my legs. I felt like I had, grab marks around my arms.
I mean, at least that shows that society is nice.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, good people. But the transition has definitely been, challenging, but ultimately rewarding at the same time.
No, that's fair. And at your time with the Tigers, what was it like to more or less be playing in the NRLW equivalent in touch? Like, what was it like to get to that level?
Oh, it was amazing. It was nice to showcase that touch. Was similar to rugby league, but that it could be showcased at such a high level. Playing in big stadiums. I think I played at ANZ and Bankwest.
Wow.
Even at Suncorp, or even in New Zealand, we played at Mount Smart Stadium. So to be treated like a professional athlete in an amateur sport was wonderful to see how far it had come.
Well, for sure. I mean, there's now like NRL affiliated teams because it's literally NRL touch. It's great. And what was the deciding factor for you to go with the Tigers? Because I'm sure with your skill, you were probably offered from a few different NRL type clubs. What was the decision to go with the Tigers?
In touch, we don't really get a choice.
Okay.
If we get selected into that team, that's where we go. And it kind of, I was in and around girls that I'd been exposed to and in teams before, so it was nice to stay with some familiar faces.
No, that's good. That's fair. Sorry about that. So tomorrow with the pre-game and all that jazz, do you have a pre-game meal or a pre-game type ritual sort of thing, or you just take the day as it comes?
As a PE teacher, I want to say that my pre-game meal is healthy. It's really not. The last couple of games, I've actually gone to Macca's and a piccolo coffee, 2 hash browns, and a medium orange juice, and that's my pre-game meal. Look, it served me well in the last couple of games, so I'll keep that for tomorrow. Well,
I mean, Macca's works. Benji Marshall had Macca's the night before the 05 Grand Final.
Oh, how good.
Yeah,
must
so...
be scientifically proven then.
For sure.
Must be onto something. My pre-game ritual, I get really nervous.
Okay. So,
pre-game is, have my headphones in, listening to some calm music.
What type of music would that be? Like what sort of bands do you like to listen to pre-game?
It's probably the most pathetic love songs you can come across, but anything to calm those nerves. Yep. It's horrendous. But my auntie the other day when I got off the field, she said that I still what did she say? I still play like I'm really petite, or
like as if you're gonna get absolutely crunched, sort of thing.
Yeah, like still really soft and stuff. So I think maybe I need to change up my pre-game music. But look, I have some rituals. Left sock on before the right.
Okay.
Boot on before the left.
Okay. So you literally go left to right, then right to left.
Yeah. And then headphones in. I like to walk out onto the grass, see my environment, do some visualization. Kira Dibb normally comes out and kicks some high balls for me to get some good success rates in. So that's what I like to do.
Nah, cool. That's fair. It seems like literally a fine pre-game, except for that, the left sock on, then the right sock, and then the right boot, and then the left boot. That's really interesting. Have you always done that, even during your touch days, or?
I think so, yeah. I only just picked up on it probably in the last couple of years that I've done the same thing, and now even when I put my shoes on a daily basis, it has to be like that.
Wow. Okay, it. Even carries into regular day life.
Yeah,
That's so
everyday
interesting.
life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who was your inspiration to get into sport in general, not just league and touch and all that stuff?
So I started playing touch when I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
I had some really good coaches coming through school, but this one lady really made an impact in my life. She was when I first made the New South Wales team in Year 7. She was my coach, and her name is Louise Winchester.
Mm-hmm.
She captained the Australian team for many years.
The
and I
emus?
got the opportunity. Pardon?
I don't know, word vomit. The emus? Do you mean?
Yeah, for touch.
For touch, yeah.
Yep. So I got the privilege of being coached by her, and then as I got a little bit older, I ended up being in the same team as her. So running out on the field with her in my team, and growing up, looking up to her, and then being able to step on the field with her was massive. And then I eventually changed clubs, and then every single week I got to play with her. She's just an inspirational person. She changed the game massively for touch, and a perfect leader.
Yeah, exactly. And what was the deciding, factors to make you decide to go from touch to full contact?
I think I just needed a challenge. Like touch is
you've done everything sort of thing.
Yeah, I just needed something else, and it was only that my brother-in-law was in and around rugby league all the time, and he was a coach himself and a player back in the day, and he said to me, we had this conversation one day, and he said, have you thought about playing rugby league? And I go, you know what? I have thought about it, but I feel like I'm too old to go and join a contact sport at this age. And he's like, don't be so silly, leave it with me, and I'll see what I can do. So that's how I transferred into the Bears, and he kind of got me a segue in there, and then I joined their preseason. So yeah, I haven't looked back.
No, that's awesome. And honestly, given the statistics, that you've had such a good first season. Coming from a touch background, the speed in general, it was without a doubt you were going to go into, the back row type stuff, winger, fullback sort of thing. And more or less, you were going to score tries every game, more or less. I reckon you'll probably get an NRLW contract. Either with the season coming up or maybe next year, you'll definitely. And with that in mind, which club would you, if you were to ever be offered, of the 4 clubs so far, would you like to play for?
Oh, look, I wouldn't be picky with the club. I think that's an ultimate goal for anyone coming in sport, is to reach the pinnacle in those teams. And I definitely wouldn't be picky. Any teams that would want to have me in their team, I would happily and be so proud and honoured to be a part of their team.
Nah, for sure. That's honestly fair enough. And there are talks on the streets, of was it the NRLW expanding into like 1 or 2 extra teams? Not this season. I think they're thinking of next season. Which 2 teams do you reckon you'd like to see? You could say promoted to the NRLW.
That's a really tough one. Like, I think there's only one Queensland team at the moment. They could align another team up there. There's some quality players that play in Queensland, but I think
maybe like a Titans or a Cowboys sort of team. Do you mean?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. But I think the Sydney tournament, and I'm probably biased by saying this, but
it is next level.
It is the girls that I play against every single week.
Every team is NRLW worthy. The Bunnies, the Bulldogs, the Sharks, the Bears. Every team.
Yeah, look, and from being out in Penrith, I wouldn't mind probably a Penrith team coming
That'd be cool, yeah.
There's good juniors out this way, so I have a couple that I teach at school, so to get to hear them be so proud of representing, or getting to play rugby league at their age now is really cool. So having them coming up and developing and, being able to strive for something in their own area would be really cool.
Nah, that's awesome. And speaking of, growing up in Penrith and growing up in general, did you follow a team in the NRL? And if so, who was it?
Yeah, it's Penrith.
Yeah. So are you glad as to how they're going so far this season?
Yeah, it's been great. They're doing really well.
Well,
hopefully steal the minor premiership.
Fingers crossed. I know they'll at least get the minor premiership. I reckon they're a shoo-y for the grand final. Whether or not they win it, I don't know. But they're definitely a smoky to get in there. And speaking of some fun sort of stuff, what is your current Netflix binge?
Oh, because I live out this way and I train out in North Sydney, it's I do a lot of travel, so not much Netflix time at the moment. But if I was to choose one, it would probably be a show that's called How to Get Away with Murder. I know what that sounds like. Definitely not what I'm trying to do, but I do love that show.
It is a good show. I remember when it was on TV, a freaking great show.
Yeah, great show.
If you could have a superpower, what would it be and why?
That's a good one. Probably to fly.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, so anytime that I get to go and do things like that, theme parks are amazing, but anytime, I reckon fly.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. I'm just looking through my list of topics. Your grassroots. As you said, you started playing touch when you were 8 years old. Did you play any other sports? And if so, what was the deciding factor to stick with, touch, sort of like football?
Yeah, I did. I played, or I was always into athletics as a sprinter. I swam, I was in squads. All through school, it was anything along the lines of cricket, basketball, although I was a bit short for basketball. Netball, I couldn't run. I couldn't, every time they threw me a netball, I seemed to run with the ball, and I couldn't get the concept that you couldn't step with the ball. So that really wasn't a sport for me.
You want to run with the ball?
I wanted to run with the ball. So I, kind of steered clear of netball. They always used to get frustrated at me. So, and then I think, touch was, in and around the area. One of my friends played with the boys before they got a girls' comp.
Mm-hmm.
So she asked, did I want to go and join her? So I went and, joined her down in the local comp, and, haven't looked back since. And I could have went and, tried to do an individual sport, but I love a team culture and what it has to offer. So being in and around, that camaraderie with the girls is something that you can't get in an individual sport. So stuck with touch.
No, that's fair. Let me see. Netflix, inspiration, pre-game meal, power, touch footy, tigers, fruit. So I'm just looking through my list to see if there's anything else. Other sports I just covered: Bears, finals, grassroots, pre-game. Which team so far, this isn't on the list, but I figured it's a topic in general. Which team so far this year, up until this round, has been the toughest for you personally to go up against, as in mentally, physically, the whole thing?
Definitely the Central Coast Roosters. I think they were our last game, so we had played everyone else. They were top of the table. They hadn't lost a game, so I think preparing for them. I think I actually threw up before the game as well. So. Wow. Preparing for them was really tough, and then playing them, it was
Well, they're in the grand final, so it's either going to be you guys or the Sharks going up against them in the grand final. So fingers crossed. It's you guys.
The Sharkies in our round 3. Our round 2 game against Sharks. I actually missed 15 minutes of it because I had my nose broken.
Oh, it's
but
good now, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's good now. Yeah. But they were tough as well. They have such a quality pack. Their backs, their forwards, some big girls in there, some quick girls out wide. They were the toughest to come up against, initially early on in the season.
No, that's fair. Well, excuse me, sorry for that. So with obviously the Central Coast Roosters making the grand final, and obviously you've got to get through Saturday to be able to get to the grand final regardless. If you do make the grand final, how are you going to personally prep to go up against the Central Coast Roosters in the grand final?
Yeah, I think that's a tough one. I think I like to stick to what I do on a weekly basis. Try and keep busy. So it's the last week of work before I break for holidays. Train hard with the girls. Don't change up too much. The normal things of getting into bed early. Hydrating, good nutrition, trying to work on being mentally okay and mentally prepared for that game, as it will be a tough one. So
pretty much stick to what you know, that way you don't throw yourself off.
Stick to what you know. Yeah.
No, that's fair. Do you have any advice for any young girls who'd love to try and make it in the elite sport of whatever sport that they play in?
Yeah, definitely. And I think to being consistent and persistent with your training is key. Doing the things that no one else does. So, going out, doing the extras. It's okay if you get setbacks. They build character, and it's what you do next with that counts. Come back even stronger. Be a sponge, ask questions, soak everything up, and don't let anyone tell you that you aren't good enough for a particular role or a sport or whatever. Get out there and challenge yourself.
Nah, fair. Honestly, I'm gonna end the recording on that note, because that is a great bit. As in, when I go into editing, I'm gonna end the episode with that, because that's such a great bloody question. Sorry, not question. So great answer that you gave. So I figured it'll maybe fade it at the end. So any more topics and whatnot, I'll make sure I put that bit at the end.
Cool.
That's honestly Perfect. So good. Who has the? Not gonna lie, probably other than yourself. Who at the Bears has the most interesting pre-game rituals, such as socks or whatever that you've noticed?
Look, I'm in my own world in those sheds. I really am. But looking around, you see players like Lacey Shields. She just dancing and laughing and carrying on. Same as Kira did. I think I filmed Kira the other day, just dancing and having a good time in there, busting out moves. It's really nice to see.
You're too nervous to...
I'm too nervous. I'm sitting in a corner stretching.
No, that's fair. Who is the larrikin, the prankster, the jokester sort of thing of the club at the moment?
Of the club? Oh... They're all at each other all the time. It's really funny. Probably Lacey. Yeah, Lacey likes to have a good laugh.
No,
she's good to be around.
Who would be? Do you reckon the? Trying to think of the wording.
That's okay.
So done the funnies. Who would be the most intense player in your team that you reckon? That doesn't necessarily have to be the hardest hitter, but just the one who takes every game you think maybe a little bit too seriously.
Oh, look, I love her to bits, but probably our captain Neats. She's intense, but she's so good at what she does. She's just she's an ultimate player, but she leads us around.
Justifies her workload, as in the way she plays justifies being intense. Do you reckon?
Yeah, she's so small, but she hits hard in the middle, and you definitely don't want to be up against her running at her. But yeah, she's intense. She's good, and she can get fired up at us sometimes, and it's good. Sometimes it's what we need. So yeah, her intensity outdoes everyone else's.